All right, city manager reports.
Thank you. We have several this morning. I'd like to start out with Mr. Ruben Aragon from the Latino Community Development Agency to update us on his organization's scope of work and some of the achievements they've had recently. Thank you for coming down this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm Ruben Aragon, the President and CEO of Latino Community Development Agency. I'd like to address two things. Would like to address the strong economic importance of Latinos in Oklahoma and have they become a very solid engine of economic growth, as well as how the Latino agency is serving Oklahoma. And now Ed Shadid earlier mentioned that Latinos are now 18% of Oklahoma City's population. Latino population is doubling every 10 years. Over 60% of Oklahoma City schools. And people hear these shocking statistics and sometimes what's happening. But I think a question to ask is, what would happen if Latinos were not growing that fast? In 2000, Oklahoma wasn't growing. We lost, after the 2000 census, one congressional district. In 2010, Oklahoma again kept up with the rest of the growth. However, if you look at that growth, the majority of the growth in Oklahoma was the Latino growth. Without the Latino growth, Oklahoma would have lagged again, as in jeopardy of losing yet another congressional district. Latinos have become a very powerful part of Oklahoma. And Oklahoma has a lot to offer. We all know that. Oklahoma is family-based, faith-based. These Oklahoma values are also Latino values. But the main reason Latinos come to Oklahoma is work. They are strongly work-oriented, and they follow the work. When Kelly Air Force Base closed in San Antonio and the work was moved up to Tinker, it was the Latinos primarily that came and followed the work. They come where the work is. When states like California that have a lot of Latinos are now seeing high unemployment, Latinos are moving from California to Oklahoma, kind of a reverse Dust Bowl. And again, Latinos follow the work. You've seen that work ethic. We have hailstorms. We know who fixes the roofs. And there's a difference now. Before the arrival of a Latino worker, those roofs used to take 3 days to finish. Gary England can be saying it's 100 degrees out there. They're up there fixing that roof, and they get it done in 1 day. The productivity is unmatched. That productivity has been noticed in the oil field, and many companies are hiring Latinos at a tremendous rate. Some big companies have been built in Oklahoma. Total Environment is primarily a Latino workforce. Salazar Roofing is now multi-state, has been built on a Latino workforce. Now, there had been a period, when you see these shocking numbers, normal, natural, there's been some people trying to suppress that growth. There were laws like 1804 that were passed. But many, many companies are now no longer looking to suppress it. In fact, they're embracing the tremendous growth as a great opportunity. Banks and credit unions are building their branches in the Latino area of town because they want those deposits. Latino businesses have grown all over the south part of town, and sales tax receipts are gone up because all this work produces money, and the purchasing power has gone very strong. Stores like Buy for Less changed their entire business concept as far as you look at the stores in Edmond, you look at the stores in Norman, they're very different than the ones in Latino areas. They target Latinos. They have big carcasses of beef hanging in the beef shop in the butcher area. They have fresh tortilla machines making tortillas because Latinos have lots of family activities. They want it fresh. They give the concept of freshness. A lot of this is just for show, but the bottom line is those cash registers are ringing at a tremendous rate, and sales tax are up in that area. Many others are copying and going after that market. We had a collapsed mall, Crossroads Mall. New money has come in from out of state into Oklahoma. New merchants have come in because that mall has been resurrected as Plaza Mayor, targeted directly at Latino purchasing power. There's no question Latinos have become a very solid engine of economic growth for Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. Now, with that growth, there's lots of other challenges and lots of needs. Many of these employers that employ Latinos do not have employer health insurance. With no employer-funded health insurance, Latinos, 39% of them have no insurance at all. No insurance, no preventive care. No preventive care, no mammograms. But here in Oklahoma, Latinos have the Latino Community Development Agency. One of our programs is a breast cancer program that's one of the most successful programs in the state. We have health promoter model where we go out, we go to churches, we have outreach, we reach these Latino women, We arrange with partners in Oklahoma to get them the mammograms. If there's a problem, and the mammogram shows the problem, and we have subsequent biopsy that shows they have cancer, we shift from a health promoter model into a full navigator model, getting that woman the best care possible, staying with her every step of the way. LCDA is there for her family, is there for her, is there for the community. There's a front page article in the Sunday Oklahoman covering the success of this program. Everywhere in the country, except Oklahoma City, everywhere in the country, the survival rate for Latino women from breast cancer is at the lowest level. But here in Oklahoma City, the survival rate for Latino women is the highest level, as high as what Caucasian women, as high as Asian American women. Latino women in Oklahoma City, thanks to the LCDA, have the same high survival rate as women living in Gloria. And that's just one of 24 programs we have. We have 24 programs because we're basically the Latino agency in Oklahoma. There is nobody else like us, and we're pretty much a monopoly of services. Among our 24 programs, we immunize. We have nutrition classes. We have exercise classes. We do HIV testing. We have programs for crisis intervention for women that are victims of domestic violence. We help kids that have gone through trauma. We have substance abuse programs. We have tobacco cessation programs. We have the largest staff of licensed bilingual mental health therapists in the state of Oklahoma. The criminal justice system here in Oklahoma sends us problem kids, gang members, other kids that have had problems in school, to come for counseling, and our results have been incredible, but they come as an alternate to very, very costly incarceration. But we don't just work with the problem kids. We're making sure we do the human capital development to create the superstars of the future. We have the highest rated bilingual early childhood infant toddler program in the state. We take kids at 6 weeks old. By 3.5 years old, they're totally fluent in English and Spanish at a vocabulary level much higher than their age group. These will be the valedictorians of the future class. We have programs for young kids. We have Latino clubs working through the schools. We work through OSU partnership to have 4-H clubs. We also have major programs based on merit. It's merit and need for scholarships, but we want to find the superstars of the future. And we have leadership training. Some of you were at our annual luncheon. Here's a young man. He came to this country. His mom brought him at 14 years old. Didn't speak much English at all. He's gone through our programs. He's gone through our leadership training. 4 years later, at 18 years old, he's standing in front of 700 people at the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, making an address in very fluent English, passionate, thanking the Latino agency for what we do for him. We're creating the superstars of the future. We operate out of an old building, used to be Riverside Elementary School. I'd invite everybody to come and see what we do there. Hopefully you get the feeling I get, because when I see the work we do, the dedication of our staff, every time I walk into that old building, I know I'm walking into a sacred place. We save lives, we enrich lives, we empower people. Last year alone, we made 114,000 service touches to 44,000 unduplicated clients. We have a tremendous track record that allows us to get the grants and funding for this. There was recently a very large grant being offered for home visitation, something we've done for 20 years, that we've created the evidence-based track record, where counselors that go to the homes make sure, and some of these young mothers are 15, 16 years old. They don't know how to be a mother yet, but we make sure the kids are not subject to any abuse, any maltreatment, and even neglect is a huge part of abuse. So we make sure that's covered, and we teach them to be the first teachers of their kids. The program works, and these kids that go through that program do very, very well. Now, this grant, and big grants aren't common nowadays. This is a time of sequester. This is a time of government cutbacks. Heck, it's even a time of government shutdown now. So when a very large grant came up, most nonprofits in the state, many of whom are floundering right now with funding, all wanted this grant. Not only the nonprofits, the Oklahoma City schools decided they wanted too. Every school district in Oklahoma, including the Oklahoma City School District, the Bethany School District, bid against us. But nobody could match our track record. And when the award was given, Latino Community Agency was awarded $500,000 annually on a multi-year contract. Our award is was almost as great as all the rest of the awards combined. We have a track record, we deliver. We have a very dedicated staff, a passion to serve, so we embrace this new era of growth, and we will continue with human capital development as the Latino community has become a very powerful engine of economic growth for all of Oklahoma. And I'm very thankful that I get to tell our story. I really invite you to come and visit us. We're outgrowing our facility. We may at some point ask for help in trying to expand that, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I see several people have heard some of this before in our luncheon. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Now, we're very proud of the accomplishments of the LCDA. Thank you for your work down there, and I'm sure there are some council comments. Ed?
So a couple. First of all, I want to thank you for your dedication and your work. I think your revenues increased 40%.
That's correct.
In the last year.
Most nonprofits are down quite a bit. They're suffering with funding. Our revenues and our budget next year will be 40% greater than it was just a year ago. We are growing. We have to grow. The community is growing. But we are growing even faster than the community because we have to offer a lot of programs. So we're doing exceptionally well, and we're going after new areas. We want to expand horizontally and do lots of other new areas, as well as we have big wait lists. We have to grow more. But our revenues, while other nonprofits are in a bit of trouble, our growth is surged, and we continue to surge.
But I think part of that has to do with the track record of LCDA, but you don't increase 40% without someone like you in leadership, and so I applaud your efforts. Can you talk about maybe the land across the street in the park and maybe some ideas about what?
We're off of Southwest 10th Street. We have the old Riverside building. The city owns land right across the street. That's part of a park, but it's really the fringes of a park, and there's a lot of other park area there. It's kind of the park that becomes one of the cheapest alternatives on what to do with that land. We can do a lot with it. We can do a lot for Oklahoma City. We'd like to target more youth programs. We can build soccer fields that we can maintain, other programs, because while Latinos have grown at a tremendous rate, there are gang problems. There are a lot of problems that we'd like to address. We have other programs, and we have the track record to do this, so we would very much be interested in having the land across the street, because that's part of the park, and I think we can do, in terms of highest and best use, we can do a lot for Oklahoma. We have done a lot for Oklahoma. We get most of our funding from grants. When we get federal grants, that's money that comes into Oklahoma. And we have the track record to do it, and we can, while the Latino community has been an engine of economic growth, LCDA itself has become an engine of economic growth for the community. So we are very interested in that property. We would like, at some point, to make a concrete proposal to show you what we can do with it and see if there's some interest. The city has no cost in that. That was given to the city by the Department of Transportation. And we think we can do a lot more for the city with that property, so we'd be very, very interested in it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Just a quick question, Ruben. One of the things I've learned about most recently is the work that you're doing in the area of domestic violence, and
Yes.
really appreciate that. It's a difficult subject, and I know you're moving forward with some partnerships with the YWCA and moving toward providing some housing. Can you talk just a little bit about some of this area?
And I think the point you brought up, a lot of the work we do, we couldn't do a lot of work without leveraging with community partners. Just for example, in the breast cancer program that's been so successful, we have partnerships with Mercy Hospital. We have partnerships with Mary Mahoney. We have partnerships. We don't give them mammograms. We arrange for them to be done. In domestic violence, we're the bilingual source. YMCA refers clients to us. We do the crisis intervention, but we don't have shelters. They have that, and we have to follow up. We also, in domestic violence, we're one of the few that not only tries to help the women, but we try to rehabilitate the men. Now there's a different, we can't get funding for that, but they have to pay for it themselves. I mean, they pay $25 a session for a 52-week course. If they miss, they have a choice. They can come to our course and get rehabilitated and go through a 52-week course, or they go to jail. So they come to our course, but we make sure they come out and do well. Not 100% success, but we've had lots of people that do very well. But that domestic violence, it shocks me to see how many women come in every day. And when they come in, they're battered. They come in with their kids. They're terrified. They're scared to go to any place else because some of the problems with 1804 and some of these other laws, so they have no place else to go. So almost we get them in where it's come to us or die type situation. So it's we help them with counseling, we help them with crisis intervention, we place them in places to stay, we help them get restraining orders, and help their kids who've gone through the trauma. We have counseling. Like I say, we have the largest staff of licensed bilingual mental health therapists in all of Oklahoma, the entire state. And we're uniquely qualified to help them. And that's just, again, one of 24 programs.
Thank you so much. I hadn't really focused on that particular issue within the climate of 1804 and how severe it was, and I appreciate everything you're doing in that area.
Well, again, I appreciate the opportunity to address you, so thank you very much.
Yes, just a couple of comments. One, I'm looking forward to Plaza Mayor being further along. I know FEMA's taken most of the facilities currently out there, but I think once the developers can really move forward with their project out there, it's going to be a great asset to South Oklahoma City, and we're really looking forward to it. I would suggest that there's an opportunity to work with especially certain members of the council, like Councilman White in Ward 4, Councilwoman Salyer in Ward 6, and myself in Ward 5, to try to work together with the LCDA and other partners to help develop a better line of communication with the Latinos in South Oklahoma City especially, but throughout Oklahoma City. And I'm just encouraging you to try to consider working with us in that regard. And certainly there's just a variety of issues we could, I think, provide some guidance in, and just wanted to extend that.
Well, I appreciate that, and again, we could not do a lot of this without extending partnerships, so we're very open to working with everybody. And by the way, when we talk about this, every one of our programs is open to absolutely everybody. We're in the Latino area of town. If you call, they'll answer in Spanish. If you look at the signs outside, they'll answer in Spanish. So, and most of the referrals come from Latinos. So naturally, the bulk of the people that come there are Latinos. But we have African Americans, Native Americans. One program we have, the way this program started, we had a troubled kid that was referred to us by the criminal justice system. A real mess. Involved in drugs, involved in gang violence, got thrown out of school naturally. He comes to Latino Agency for counseling. For the first time ever, he sees somebody that looks like him, that's bilingual, bicultural, can relate to him, and he buys in. Not everybody buys in, but he did. This kid that had terrible attendance at school has absolutely perfect attendance to all his counseling services, brought his parents in, they have perfect attendance too. And she's able to get him back in school. This kid ends up being a pretty smart kid. He gets A's and B's in school. This kid had never seen a C. So he's doing quite well, but then he points out something. He made mistakes, he wants to turn his life around, but he's got gang tattoos all over his neck, he's got teardrops tattooed to his eye, he's got gang tattoos. He says, nobody's going to hire me, and he's right. Our mission is not complete until we make sure that everybody can be self-reliant, and if we just counsel him, got him back to school, our mission would not be complete. So he inspired us to set up another program. We had a tattoo removal program. And we removed his tattoos. He didn't go out to college. He went through Metrotech. He's now doing air conditioning and heating. He's self-supporting. Without us, he would have been a mess. Probably dead, may kill somebody, maybe even a mass murderer, who knows. But we turned him around. But in that tattoo removal program, that's one of our programs, that we do not have 90% Latinos. We have about 60% Latinos. Anybody under 18, it's absolutely free. We had an Aryan gang member who had a swastika on his neck. Who's going to hire him with a swastika on his neck? And he came in, we took that tattoo off. So our programs are open to absolutely everybody. But as in the area we're in and with our name and everything, naturally Latinos go, but every one of our programs is absolutely open to everybody.
Thank you so much for coming down.
Mayor,
Well,
I have a comment about the suggestion about the park. You're talking about across the street north
Yes.
from Riverside.
North from Riverside, yes.
You know, it seems
South of
to me
I-40.
now would be a perfect time to make a proposal about that.
Okay.
The south part of the park is a long ways off from being done in maps. You could really be the catalyst for things that go on south of the interstate, it seems to me. that we've had this watercolor about that park area being soccer fields and so forth. I think now would be a perfect time to do it.
Well, we're very interested. We're busting at the seams for growth.
I would think you'd also, at the same time, look at some kind of a expansion and rehabilitation of the school building itself. It seems to me it's anchored right in the center of what is the historic Latino community in Oklahoma City. And to be able to renovate that building and maybe move the street a little bit to the south where you could use that beautiful front entrance again instead of going in the back. I think there are lots of ideas that could be utilized right now to move that forward.
Well, we'd be very interested in putting a quality proposal, and I think we could show that the highest and best use for that land, given our track record and given the growing needs for the Latino community and the growing problems. I mean, we do great counseling with kids. It's sometimes discouraging to see after all the great counseling they get back with their friends and and end up getting back influence. We'd like to have other activities for them, tie their time up, bring them some leadership training, and these are 1 out of every 5 children born in Oklahoma City is now Latino. We have a huge number that's in our schools. This is the future workforce. We want to do everything for human capital development to make sure they're very strong and continue to be a strong part of Oklahoma City. And we're in a unique position to do that, so I'm very, very encouraged with the receptivity of this idea. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down.
Okay, thank you
We
very much.
appreciate the work.